This Little League World Series, and you kind of demonstrated this, sir, Lubie, when we were talking about the Hawaii Vanderbilt game, a game that you would not have given a flying fuck about at any other time and for any other reason, but that you were encouraged by the professor. Put $25 on the money line at 6-1. But you were all in on this thing, and you remembered chapter and verse exactly what happened and transpired in the last 17 minutes of the game, described it in great detail, as if you were doing an ESPN highlight show. And that was over $25. So I happen to be in a bar, and I'm watching this Little League World Series. You know how they put that little thing up, and it's, it's always kind of stupid, I think, because you're asking an 11-year-old, what your favorite movie is. What do you expect them to say? Citizen Kane?
Yeah, I hate when they do that.
They put up about this little kid, came up, I think, with like the bases loaded, hit a little tapper to the pitcher to end the inning. They put up that his favorite food was a chicken sandwich. All right, so all of a sudden, when this grounder, this little tapper goes out to the mound, I hear this guy yell, "You know what, kid? Take a chicken sandwich and shove it up your ass." And then the guy was grousing, that he had money on the game. And I thought, well, I mean, that proves a point. You put a few bucks on a ball game, it could definitely change the dynamic of your character. Shove a chicken sandwich up your ass, you told this little kid.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
I guess Kevin Hart is considered an actor. Would that be true, Lubie?
Yeah, I mean, he's not.
It's not like he's Olivier, but how many of those kids in a Little League World Series had Kevin Hart as their favorite actor? And you're wondering, wow, I mean, if you're worried about the direction of this country because who might be president, this is really fucking scary. Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody peeled himself off the mat this fine Tuesday after a 3-day weekend. But we did a little bit of work on Saturday, if you could call it that, as we had the Mike Mayo Lunchbox show out there at the Coconut Creek Casino. And wow, I mean, how impressive was that? The spread that they put out there for us was just absolutely amazing. And it makes you think, thank God for casino comps.
Yeah.
No, that would be. I mean, I've had a couple of meals there at the New York Yankee Steak, and I didn't realize there were 3 of them, Lubie. And there still is one in Yankee Stadium. I guess that was the original. And then the Coconut Creek Casino, the Seminole Tribe made a deal with the Yankees. We were talking a little bit about that with the man who runs the restaurant there, real gentleman. Yeah, wow, what a good guy. I mean, very polished at the whole place. They really, the chef was great. Everybody was fantastic. So we kicked off our weekend there, and I got involved in that poker tournament. I lasted for a while, Lubie, but I was really going nowhere in it. And I finally, every time I tried to deliberately lose a hand, I would win.
You bitter?
Mustang was there. She was playing a slot. She didn't have too much success there, although we were planning on moving on to a casino where I could play the horses. Which was Harris, of course, down the street. And so, we were figuring, okay, that'd be the perfect move is, play a little bit of cards here, have some fun, maybe meet a few of the people who were there thinking, wow, there are celebrities in this poker tournament. Mayo got knocked out right away. I sort of gathered that he went in with a pair of 5s or something and got blown out of the tournament almost within a second. Like I had just sat down and Mayo was like saying goodbye. I thought he wanted to play. He wanted to win the prizes, didn't he?
Yes.
Now I know nothing. I'm people. You talk about like dead money, as they call it. Where some new fish comes into the game. I felt like a new fish at Oz. I don't know if you remember the show Oz on HBO. Why don't you go down there and spend some time with the sodomites? I mean, that sort of thing. So I mean, I would have been the easiest of prey. Although I didn't get to play too many hands because I was getting like the worst cards in the history of cards. I kept getting like 2-7 offsuit, that sort of thing. I mean, stuff that you really wouldn't want to go into any kind of a serious hand with, especially a bunch of people at the table. You got to figure somebody's at least got to have a pair, right? Maybe you can bluff them out, but didn't have a big enough stack to put any pressure on anybody at any one time. But I did last a few hours, and the 2 times I went all in trying to get out of there after getting a call from the Mustang. One time I end up on the river. I end up getting a hit in a straight out of nowhere. Had a horrible hand. And then the next time I pull a full house. out of my ass when I went in with like 7-3. And there are 3 10s on the board, and another 7 shows up on the last card. I'm like, wow, look at that, man! I just beat everybody here at the table, so I couldn't get out of it. And then finally, I threw it all in on some ridiculous hand and lost. But it was a good time. I had my all. That whole poker thing is very, very strange. Because here's an astute player like Mayo. He lasts 2 seconds in the tournament, and here's me. I literally, completely lost for the most part. I mean, I know the hands and everything. I understand strategy, no idea. And these guys are thinking, and you have to become really good at twiddling your chips, Lubie. You remember the old bread slicer when you go to a bakery? I guess they still have this, right? If you go to Publix, you ask them to slice a loaf of bread for you, and they put it in that thing that rattle, that vibrates and it slices it perfectly. That's what they do. They do that thing with the chips. It's kind of interesting. All right, all the chips we're in. How do you feel now about your man Deion Sanders, Lubie? I mean, let's start with a little college football here today on the show, and good to have you guys with us. Good morning to everybody that's saying hello on the chat line. We love Rosalina. She's absolutely fantastic. Big Possum already checking in. Nice to see you, Julian. Nice to see you people in the chat line conversation. And we hope to have a good time. We're going to have Tony Segreto. We had to juxtapose a few things because, Lubie, you're off to Morocco, huh? What are you going to, are you drinking mint tea in preparation for this trip? Baklava? Well, what the heck? What are you working on there, Lubie, in terms of preparations?
We land in Casablanca, so I think we're gonna finally. Neither of us have watched.
Doesn't that sound romantic, man? We land in Casablanca like you're in a Bond movie or something. Great.
I've never thought about Morocco at all, so I give you credit. You worked in that restaurant, so you have some ties to it. Shirley's always wanted to go. I couldn't have told you the first thing about fucking Morocco.
Yeah,
we're gonna watch today. We'll get some time after the mail before we fly out. That we'll watch Casablanca, and I hope that'll put us in the mood.
Oh yeah, you're gonna watch a movie? Wow.
Here at the house. Yeah, we'll watch that. I mean, I think it's got to be on some streamer. It's a classic fucking movie.
What kind of, is it a realistic depiction of what you're going to come across as a tourist in Morocco?
I mean, it's a little old, so I'm presuming things have changed a little.
I don't know. I mean, like when I went to Italy, my brother was warning me about gypsies. In fact, he recommended that for $16, I buy this little walking stick. And he said, you don't need it to walk with, but you'll need it to fend off gypsies. No. He says one good thwack from one of these sticks, and they're no longer impoverished. They run straight to their Mercedes and drive off from whatever square you happen to be in at the time. Now, I do remember this, and it's not a very favorable thing. It's probably not going to be a popular opinion here, but this just happened to be true. And I really wondered in working with various teams of waiters, some of which were from Morocco, some from Tunisia. About half of the staff at this restaurant was comprised of waiters and servers and personnel that were from the Middle East. The rest were from all kinds of different locations, but naturally, since this place was in L.A., there were at least, I guess, a quarter of the staff was red-blooded American, like I was, and I happened to be on a team of waiters with 2 other American guys. We were working in teams of 3 in this restaurant, and the scruples, the morality, the entire mentality of how to treat other people and their property. What was completely different among the Middle Easterners. Let me put it that way, Libby. In other words, I had this crew had no scruples, even if you were friends with the guy. It was like, Omar, what are you doing? You had to make more than a couple of $100 here tonight on the tips. I mean, that one table alone was good for $100. Oh, no. They stiffed us.
Oh, they jack tips.
The fucking dishonesty was, it was monumental. And we literally a couple of times had to turn this one guy upside down. And out of his pockets would come like $100 bills, change, all kinds of stuff. Silverware.
No.
They didn't have silverware at the restaurant, but when they did, this guy was stealing it. It was unbelievable. But, I don't know if that's a reflection on the entire country, but the moral standards there, or ethical standards were not exactly what we were accustomed to. Let's put it that way. When it came to equitable treatment of each other in division of cash. So I don't know if that's still in existence there. Maybe they've had a heightening of consciousness, Lubie. But you're going to be like you are in New York, right? Watch your back pocket there if you keep your wallet in your back pocket.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I've been to all. I wouldn't say all, but Thailand.
That's a terrible, scathing indictment of an entire, country's people. But
they always do that. Like Thailand, Rome because of the it's one of the highest tourism places in the world. New York City, like I've been to all these places, and they stress you out. Cuba, supposedly Cuba, even though the people were amazing in Cuba, like they stress you out, and then you get there and you're like, oh, okay, I'm
fine,
from South Florida, duh. Like, don't be a dumb fuck, like Chinese tourists taking pictures with. Like if you put your stuff in your front pockets, you keep your hands here, they have no shot. Just don't be a dumbass, like you're from New York, like, like, come on, you're not some person from Kansas.
New York, there wasn't a time. I'm still used to it. Like I'll be walking on A1A without a soul in sight. You're tapping your back pocket.
Exactly.
Your wallet's still there.
Like, come on.
That's just a habit I grew up with in New York. Every couple of seconds, right? It's kind of like
100%.
people checking their cell phone out. It just bothered me a little bit. I'm watching the U.S. Open. I got some clips of it now are on ESPN. You might see them reflected in this Klitschko poster here. But, I mean, you're watching a major sporting event that you paid a lot of money to get into. And you look, and even in the players' box, right? I forget who it was, but there were like 8 or 10 people in the players' box, and they showed a box because they always want to get the girlfriend shot with a lot of these guys, which they are some incredible. I mean, the tennis babes they were always strong, but I think they're at their ultimate height right now because these tennis players, they don't even meet these people in person. They just find whatever influencer is on TikTok, and the hottest one, like this Morgan Riddle, who's gone with Taylor Fritz, who will be in a what? Is he in a quarterfinal match today? I guess he is.
They got to be
Taylor Fritz. Oh, well, yeah, I think he's in the quarterfinals against Djokovic today. I believe that match is later on tonight. Yeah, in fact, that's been a big story in the U.S. Open. The success, relative success of the Americans who haven't won a Grand Slam or a major tournament since like 2003. I want to say Andy Roddick was the last guy to win any kind of a major. And I think it was 2003, U.S. Open.
Yes.
But since then, I mean, it's been not a senior, nothing, which is pretty incredible because, I mean, it's not like there haven't been some good American players. Just you had the Big Four dominating, and then, that dominance is somewhat continued with Novak Djokovic, who has a chance to knock Fritz out of the tournament today. And I would imagine the odds will be substantially in Djokovic's favor because he's 7-0 against Taylor Fritz so far. So they have played some competitive matches. You do have a guarantee of an American in the other semifinal.
So Tiafoe
in the men's bracket. Tiafoe is, Francis Tiafoe is taking on Ben Shelton, who's a great story. And Shelton had a big victory over Tommy Paul, who also is one of those guys with the influencer, I mean, absolutely stunning babe girlfriends. So, yeah, whenever they take a picture of the players' box, you would think if anybody's going to be riveted to the match, would it not be the people in the players' box? You were either one of the people on the staff, or you're with the guy, or even on the women's side. I don't know. You see some husbands, some boyfriends, on the women's side, but it's not as entertaining naturally to guys like you and me, Lubie, as seeing these absolutely stunning, gorgeous, perfectly, I mean, they're just beautiful babes that are accompanied as tennis players. But of the 8 people in the box, 6 were on their cell phone while they were taking these shots.
So funny because
and a baseball game, same thing you see. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, whenever they used to go to Serena, even though her mother had like these big glasses and they always dressed in the 90s, you could tell they were into it.
What was her mother's name? Like Ophelia or Dahlia or something? I can't even remember.
I can't remember. They were always engaged. When you watch these tournaments, you'll see these guys. They look like these Italian models, and they're like on their phone and they're taking selfies and they're bullshitting, and it's like, isn't that your brother? Like, and this is like he's down 2 points, but he's rattled back. He's come back.
Yeah,
like,
great
not
point.
At all. Like, why are you there?
Nothing. Yeah. Well, it's not just them. I mean, those are the people that you would least expect to be just sitting there on their cell phone. Well, how addicting is the cell phone? I find myself every now and then, I mean, just like not eating, right? You're telling yourself, I mean, why am I picking up my cell phone now? I just had it in my hand 15 seconds ago. I just checked it. There's nothing new on there. Why am I punching this thing up? It's insane, right? I mean, it's worse than the addiction of slot machines, Lubie. Where you just can't get enough. You can't pick yourself up and walk away no matter how much money you win or lose. You're just like, oh, okay, one more spin. But the cell phone thing at sporting events, it's starting. It doesn't trouble me. Obviously, I'm watching on TV, so I'm not even there. But Everywhere you look in the crowd. I mean, why would you pay big money? Would you go to the movies and just whip your cell phone out? I mean, I guess people do that now too.
No,
And they're
no,
just sitting there like on their phone the whole time. I know you just paid like $20 to get in here to see this flick. Watch Oppenheimer, blow up the world, and you're on your cell phone. I mean, unless it's some kind of just bizarre emergency, you would think that that would be the last thing you want to do. But I mean, to pay money to go to a sporting event and then just sit there on your cell phone the entire time seems utterly ridiculous, does it not? And
I
yet,
agree.
if you look in the crowd, especially baseball games, these people are right behind home plate. Those are the guys, that are prominently featured in the shot, right? Because you're watching the pitcher and you got the center field camera, and you're looking and going, out of like 20 people that you can see clearly, 18 of them are on their cell phone,
100%.
even as the pitch is being delivered. It's crazy. Football, I don't know if it's the same thing. Is it? I mean, people are taking pictures or whatever. I understand that. But I mean, to just be sitting there texting like a maniac. I mean, I guess if you could do it while you're driving, why not do it during a sporting event? But just something, that I'm looking at, that I'm thinking, why would you pay hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars to go to a sporting event and just sit there on your cell phone the entire time? All right, let's get to the action, Louis. And wow, I mean, you don't have. You want to get back into the college football thing, or I'll finish this thought on the U.S. Open, because you do have Tiafo and Shelton. Shelton was great. He beat Tommy Paul yesterday. This kid Ben Shelton out of the University of Florida. I did not realize that he was a black person. Did you?
That makes
I mean,
sense. So,
I thought the kid was Jewish. I really did. I because he kind of had like a little bit of a Jewish fro, if you will.
okay.
And a very light skin. I guess he's from an interracial marriage. His father's black and his mother's white. But I would have never. I mean, they're making a big deal out of this thing that it's the first time two American black tennis players have met in a quarterfinal of a major tournament. Tiafo and Shelton, which you would have to think Tiafo with the experience edge. Probably. I mean, I would imagine he's
And
favored in
lives
this match.
in Gainesville too.
Say what?
And he lives in Gainesville.
Well, he went to the University of Florida, and his father was the coach at the University of Florida, I believe.
Okay.
So his father, I think, left that job now to be with Ben Shelton on the tour, and the kid's doing great. I mean, wow, 149-mile-an-hour serve. He hit it twice in the same game. A $149. The record is like 152. The fastest clock serve. I think John Isner might have that, and he retired after the tournament. Brilliant stuff, though. I mean, wow, the athleticism of some of these players that are on the tour today. People look at Alcaraz, but there are any number of other guys that, while maybe not quite being equally as exciting and efficient at it, are really, really good. And people are still looking for the Djokovic Alcaraz finale, but there's no guarantee on that. Joker has mowed down his competition. He did lose a couple of sets to a fellow Serbian that he played, I believe, on Friday, and then he came back and destroyed his competition yesterday in his last match, or 2 days ago. And seems ripe to go ahead and move on to the final, because he's going to mow down half of this country on his way to the final. He would have to beat Fritz today, and then the winner of the Tiafo-Shelton match takes on the Joker. Whereas Alcaraz now goes against, he's going to have to face Zverev. Sasha Zverev, remember this guy? Very good player. He was in a bloodbath last night against Yannick Sinner, the Italian kid who's really, really good. Made a big run at the U.S. Open last year. And so, and Zverev looked great. I mean, wins the fifth set. It was just an absolutely outrageously contested match. Big hitting, both guys. And it's funny too, because Sinner, who hits like a huge, as both forehand and backhand are huge, big serve, done in by the dropper, Lubie, if you will. The drop shot. If you're missing drop shots at the highest level, you really look bad, and even more bazoic if you're trying drop shots. It's a kind of shot like I like the drop shot. I was a big advocate of the drop shot. Maybe based on a little bit of cruelty because of the fact that my friend Dr. Jerry, who I played frequently, his knees are in worse shape than Jim Otto's were when he checked out. So, yeah, I mean, and he would just look at me and go, if you're going to throw drop shots in there, then, you're just going to go ahead and win, DeForest. You're an asshole.
He was mad.
It was like bunting on Monty Stratton. It was crazy. My favorite fill-in movie of Rain Out Theater was the Monty Stratton story, where,
And
and I still remember that manager, like Barry Glum, and that was one of those Jimmy Stewart movies where the music is like particularly boring and it's in black and white, and so you're thinking to yourself, just as I was saying, well, what a waste my life is that I'm watching this right now, Rain Out Theater, hoping that the game resumes, and you would stay with it for like hours, hoping that they would just pick up the Yankee game again on WPIX. But yeah, the manager after Stewart, who has a wooden leg and he's trying to make a comeback as Monty Stratton, he watches him, mowing these, the all stars down that he's pitching against, and he finally says, "I hate to say it, but bunt on him." That little flick.
That's so douchey.
But for me, in the context of the course of playing this game, it was a natural maneuver. Like I see a guy, impaled to the fence on the right side of the court. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to hit it back to him, or you're just going to flick a dropper over the net? I mean, the court is what it is. It's a geometrical space designed for you to find the openings.
Yep.
So if that's it, and I happen to like that kind of shit because I'm a slicer and a dicer, in general in a lot of sports, right? I just always like the little cut shots, this and that, slow curveballs, whatever. I kind of like, even though you have to have some power to go along with it, but if you can finesse a guy to death, always good to use a little bit of finesse. But it's the kind of thing where, if you're playing like mixed doubles, which is the worst thing that you could ever do in your lifetime, people, don't ever play mixed doubles. If you get into tennis right now and you were dragged into it by like a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, never play with them unless you're against them. You can go ahead and whip their ass. You'd be better off than playing on their team in a mixed doubles match, which I got Mustang in the tennis. She's a much better player than I ever thought that she would be. Because initially you go out with somebody, I don't know, have you gone out and hit the ball with Shirley at all? Is she any kind of athlete?
She played soccer. She was really good, but we want to play tennis. We haven't yet, and I'm sort of scared to because she's very competitive.
I mean, it's sort of a thing that you have to sort of gently work your way through. Because if you've been playing a lot, I don't have the patience to sit there and play with somebody that can't even get the ball over the net. Do you? At first, yeah, okay, you're taking somebody out there. Let's hit them, and you bring like 100 balls. So, if they hit one back, you're like, wow, that's great, man. You're looking like, Coco Gauff here. But when the first few go flying over the fence, you're usually thinking this person isn't going to be very good at the game. In the Mustangs case, she wasn't too bad right away. But then when we started playing some mixed doubles with other couples, it was a disaster because I would try a failed drop shot. Nothing derives more of a derisive comment than a failed drop shot. That's what did center in yesterday, at least partially so. And the wife will look at you and go, what are you doing that for? Just hit it like a man. You're hitting it like you're hitting it in the bedroom. Nowhere. It's like, and they hate it when you fail a drop shot with a drop shot. It's like disgusting. I guess what? It's under the heading of don't get cute when you get cute, and then it just doesn't work out well. It's such ugliness, but do yourselves a favor, people. Don't ever play mixed doubles with your wife or spouse. Because I've said this many times, and it's true. And anybody that's done it knows that I'm absolutely speaking truth here. You can't win either way. Because if you lose with her on your side, then, you're an asshole. And if you say, hey, well, why don't we mix it up a little bit and I'll play with, so-and-so's wife. Then it's like, oh, so you have an interest in her, huh? You'd rather be with her than me. Oh my God.
There's no way.
Say that. I'm just trying to make the sides fair. You're a better player than she is, whatever. I'm better than the guy. But that doesn't fly at all. Doesn't fly, Lubie. It's ugliness. All right, so let's get into it now. What did you think of your man Deion Sanders after this game? I mean, you were the quickest to condemn him, the most vocal, the huge advocate of the fact that he can't coach a lick.
I mean, their defense sucks. So I feel
they beat TCU. I mean, last year, one of their Cinderella teams of last year, they beat them outright as 20-point dogs. That's incredible.
They did. It was an impressive offensive performance. His son, who I thought was average at best, looked fantastic. Hunter, the guy that that started the whole FSU hate. Well, actually, I've always hated Deion, so it doesn't really change anything for me. But the guy that left FSU and switched to go to Jackson State was fucking fantastic. On offense, he was making highlight catches. He made this one interception, even though the rest of the game he got beat all game because their defense may be the worst in the country. They were better than I thought. I have to admit that. Also, TCU isn't the same TCU. Their defense wasn't allowing 40 points to fucking Schmanks last year. And their quarterback, who, if you watched TCU last year, was a heart and soul of their team, is not there anymore. So it's clear they're not the same team. But I will admit I was wrong. I thought they would lose by 30 or more. It would be a disaster. And Deion would come up with excuses because he can never admit he's wrong.
87 new guys on the roster.
They were impressive. And until Sunday night, they were the story of the weekend. Or last night, I guess. Last night may eventually have been the story of the weekend. But
I think the FSU LSU game, you could easily say, and not be the focus of some witch hunt, some Trump-like witch hunt. That that was the marquee game of the weekend schedule. There's no doubt. I mean, people were touting it as such. It was what, 2 top 10 teams.
yes,
Meaning, here's one. Here's an annuity for you, where I guess you could count on this. It's always interesting because I was talking with a gentleman yesterday. I was at a party and we were just hanging out in the pool. Turned out I knew the guy without recognizing him right away. He didn't know. Hey, Defo, hey, how are you? Which was great. So we had a little history going way back in the past with the Hurricanes, and also he was a waiter actually at Cafe Monterano when I frequented that place. Not on a big time regular basis, but I was in there enough to know most of some of the crew there. So I knew this guy, Radar, and we were, talking about the Hurricanes football program and some of the things that were happening. That game, first couple of plays, I'm like, wow, this is going to be a blowout here. When they played Miami, what they handed the ball off, ran right up the middle, and pushed the line forward for like 10 yards on the first couple of plays, and they pretty much did what you would have hoped. To Miami of Ohio, although took them a while to really start putting some points on the board in that game. They do play Texas A&M, Jimbo coming to town.
it's actually 2 teams with lots of hype last year that were not good last year, and Jimbo's clearly on a hot seat. Mario's not on a hot seat yet. He's on like a warm seat because
I think he's on a magic carpet ride. I don't think anybody's questioning whether he should still be here. You might be looking at his coaching as being suspect, as we have, but
I mean, their offense sucks.
I don't sense any steam towards let's get rid of Cristobal.
There isn't a lot of faith in him. I'm telling you right now, people are.
You don't think? No, really?
They were up 10 over Miami.
Who are you talking to? PC? You can't go by PC's opinion.
No, I don't talk to PC.
He's a radical. This guy.
Kane message boards, Kane chats. They're not happy with Cristobal. They talk themselves into the second half being happy because they if to me you're playing Miami, Ohio, it takes you to the second half to start running the ball down their throat, and that's how you pull past a bad team, and that's what gets you excited. You're in for a long fucking season because they couldn't throw the ball to save their goddamn life, and they were trying, and that's a load of garbage. In the first half, they were, because Canes fans are like, well, why would we have showed our hands? It's fucking Texas A&M, guys. You're not playing Alabama next week. You're playing a team that had like 5 or 6 wins. I'm sorry. You should
Texas A&M was 5-7 last year. They were horrible.
You shouldn't be scared to show your play. I'm like, you're talking yourself into something. That first half I watched, they tried to throw the ball downfield. It was an abomination. Their offense is literally, we're going to throw a screen, a 2-yard slant, or pray. And it's like, okay.
Where's Rob Chudzinski when you need him?
I don't know, man. Like they're supposed to have this new offense that fits Tyler Van Dyke. He looked average as shit until they started running in the second half. He had like 100 yards. Like I don't even know if he ended up.
It was all dink. You're right. It was mostly dink and dunk.
I'm not trying to be negative. I was watching the game. They won by a nice margin, and I guess if you're the Canes after last year, you're happy about that. But I'm like, this is supposed to be this high. If you watched FSU and you're a Miami fan, how the fuck can you be?
Oh, that's going to be a crush job. Yeah.
I don't, but it's not about talent. But look, you and Ken have said this, and they won, and they look good. But if you're not going to be great, at least you're Miami. Their speed, that cliche still exists. The speed in South Florida is next. There's no one that compares. You can get the 7th or 8th best guy at a position out of the area, and he's fast as shit. How can you watch that offense? He still runs this offense from like the 19 fucking. It's like Lombardi's. We're gonna just grind it into the ground. Like, dude, you were great.
He's like Ben Schwartzwalder with Zonka.
And literally, a dude quoted you. He was celebrating field goals versus fucking Miami of Ohio.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, dude.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, look, after the year he had last year, and I even think about last year's Texas A&M game. Boiled down to a lot of goofy mistakes that were made by his team that seemed to be ill-prepared for the moment, as Tony Segreto
penalties, a ton of stupid-ass penalties the whole first half. Versus, again, I don't know. So anyways,
you were unimpressed is what you're saying.
I just was. Look, TCU, to me, is right there as the story of the weekend. I don't know what they're going to do. But Deion's going to ride this one for a long time. They were center stage, 12 o'clock, really, to start off week 1 on Saturday. And their offense was spectacular. I can't.
All right, I got a couple of things to stick out. All right, I wanted to, the point I was going to make about my conversation with this radar guy in the pool as we were downing shots of tequila of some sort. And if you're going to go to a Labor Day party, I do recommend that you go to a party at the home of someone who owns a very good restaurant, which is what the occasion was yesterday for me. The lovely Kathy Vasallo, owner of Fishtails, put on. I mean, wow! And the food spread. You walk inside. Sometimes you're thinking, okay, well, what's the food going to be? What do they got? Dogs and burgers. And you walk in there, and it's like, holy shit! Look at this. And, and I'd already told myself, I'm not going to eat. I gotta, start thinking about taking off, a couple of pounds, and I'm just going to pass on the food here. And next thing you know, I had a plate like you would bring out from a buffet there, piled to the ceiling. It looked like one of the mountains in the series of the Himalayas, what I had piled on that plate. But and we were talking about he doesn't like Brian Kelly at all. Thinks Brian Kelly's an asshole. And it's funny how you'll go to like one incident. Like with me, with Deion Sanders, I was always impressed with his ability, as a cover corner. And people knocked his defensive ability, saying he didn't make a tackle ever, or he'd run out of the way. And you would see examples of that. Now I'm a huge fan, and it's a shame that this is not as big of an aspect of the game as it used to be when, say, like Travis Williams was running back kicks for the Green Bay Packers, or Nolan the Flea Smith. Remember, you used to know kick returners.
Yes.
We had, Miami, University of Miami had a series of just tremendous kick and punt returners, including Kevin Williams and others, that were just brilliant at this. Devin Hester. Yeah. And you couldn't wait for the other team to have to either, they would kick the ball off to begin the game and you're thinking, going to take it to the house, or, any punt. You're looking, you didn't want to be on your cell phone when the ball was in the air because there was a good chance that they were going to run it back all the way. So, I was always a big fan of that. But this Brian Kelly thing we were talking about was, he's 3-11 now in games where he and his opponent have both been ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, he's not good in big games. Like, that's what's funny going into this game.
That's an 8-unit plus if you could just discipline yourself, Lubie, to factor zero in on certain things. Mm-hmm. Right, you're waiting for this play. You're Mark Lawrence, and you say, "Wow, look at this guy. He's 3-10 in this spot."
Yep.
But whenever he's taking on a really good team, he's not a good coach,
100%,
or whatever. He just doesn't have the goods. So if that's all you did with your $10,000 units, Lubie, you'd be up 80,000 minus the juice on the 3 games that you lost. You'd be up about $77,000. Pretty incredible. But you can't bring yourself to do it. That's the thing. You can't just make that bet and then sit chilly the rest of the time, can you? Could you sit there and just wait for these spots? If you could find a few of those, you would be able to, make yourself a fortune. And here's one that's coming up, I guess. With this Deion Sanders thing, getting back to that. Now Deion and Colorado are favored over Nebraska.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
I love it. This is going to be so fun.
Did Nebraska, they played that real boring game against Minnesota to start things out. Did they not? Was that Nebraska? And they lost?
Minnesota, what was it, Thursday? They lost late. People are definitely going to be, it's Matt Rule's first year. I thought Nebraska was still, because I think Nebraska is going to win in a fucking runaway. One game versus a TCU team that clearly is not the same. It makes me give you credit, but it doesn't change my opinion of TCU. I mean, of Colorado. So I think their schedule is not easy. Like the Pac-12, and that's the thing. What the Pac-12 is good at is what they're bad. The Pac-12 has like 5 of like the top 10 quarterbacks in the country, and their defense is a fucking abomination. Like TCU's quarterback sucked. TCU at the end had like 3 wide open dudes that would have gone in and scored and ended the game on their last drive. And the quarterback he wasn't getting touched. He was airmailing it. So the fact that they got 42 points is sickening. Like, I don't know what the fuck Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. is going to do to that Colorado defense. Like, Shedeur Sanders can have 500 yards all he wants. He's not out yarding fucking Caleb Williams. I'll tell you that right now. So I hope it's going to be the overreaction to Colorado is going to be fantastic.
3-point favorites at home. Julian points out it's their home opener. Okay, so there'll be a lot of steam. I don't know that any team has come from out of nowhere just because of the presence of one guy. I mean, if Parcells took over the team, wouldn't be as exciting to these Colorado people as Deion Sanders. I was going to say about Deion that I wasn't a huge Deion fan. I loved the kick returner, and the fact that he was a great kick returner kind of excited me to watch him play. He was one of those players that you found very entertaining if you were looking for sort of an electrifying display of athleticism here and there. That was Deion Sanders. Then he combined that with the baseball. I didn't think he was a great baseball player, but he was good enough to be in the bigs, and what was, I think, somewhat of a factor in that postseason that he took part in when he was flying back and forth on Sundays. Remember that? He would play for like the Falcons and then go, and play baseball later on that night in a World Series game. Kind of turned me off when he dumped that beer on Tim McCarver. That was, and I don't mind guys that are full of shit because I run into them all the time. People could say the same thing about me, but I don't mind a guy. I mean, I'm not really like a braggadocio type that is going to be telling you how great I am all the time, like a Deion Sanders. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm sure that alienates a lot of people. The whole thing. Great teeth, by the way. Probably what? I mean, who had a better smile than Deion when he would show the pearly whites? I mean, maybe Magic. That would be about it. Great teeth. Secretariat. No. So I mean, he has that persona. He is always going to grab attention. There's no question whether you like him or you don't like him. You came to despise Deion. I don't feel as negatively about him as you do. That's for sure. And there's a huge curiosity factor about whether or not the guy can succeed. Now at Jackson State, look what happened to them. He took all of their players, I guess, that had any ability with him, and they go. I forgot who they played, but. They had opened the season against the same team, I think, a year ago and beat them by 50 points. And they lose to the same team without Deion there by like 40 points the subsequent year. So, I mean, if that's not some kind of a difference, I guess if you fleece the team of all of its talent, that probably isn't going to help. But the ability, now his son was a big part of it. That couldn't have been too tough of a conversation to convince Shedeur Sanders to come to the school where his father was coaching, but I think that narrative has changed. But from a betting standpoint, just like betting against Brian Kelly in a matchup of top 10 teams when he's one of them, and you're up 8 units lifetime, you would have to think, is this not just a huge bounce overreaction to winning outright and covering in the process? I think the spread was 20 and a hook in that game, but favored by 3. Would it not be advantageous? Do you believe this momentum will continue against Nebraska? No, apparently you don't.
I don't.
Is that your emotion talking? Because in spite of the fact that he was one of the great players in FSU history, you can't stand the man?
Yeah, I don't like him. I think he's the greatest cover corner ever. I think he was not an all-around defensive back. I think he's as good a return man as there ever was. If you punted or kicked it to Deion, he was taking it to the house. Like, he was scary. I also think he's a blowhard, jackass, loudmouth, obnoxious asshole.
You don't buy all that religious stuff that he was doing when he was like with who's that guy, Billy Blanks or Banks? The guy who was doing a little tie bowl. You're not buying that shit? No, you didn't buy those little bands that he was selling so you can not have the grandfather arms at 72. Yeah, I wouldn't be inclined to buy any products that Dion was endorsing, right? I mean, Aflac. They can have the lowest rates, and the only other alternative would be Citizens, and I'm still probably not going to Aflac just because they have Dion on there.
With
Not
Nick.
so much Dion, but Nick Saban. I mean, imagine Nick Saban recommending that you purchase this insurance.
Because he cares about other people.
Look, and as soon as I see Nick come on the command, fuck you, Nick. You're full of shit. It's a carryover, man. Maybe I should use more logic. All right, so that was, I mean, FSU was very impressive. Big Al was, I mean, he watches college football with great interest. I tend to think he has a decent opinion about this, even though he's Michigan when it comes to math. But he's texting me in the first half that FSU is championship material, and that was when they were kind of struggling there with their game against LSU, right? I mean, didn't they trail at halftime by a point or something like that?
We're down a field goal. Our secondary looked like it was fucking when Ken and I did that Fort Lauderdale high school game. The secondary like was a bunch of high school kids against NFL players. Guys are just running free, doing it was like the Gators, where they're like, here. It was like, what the fuck, man? Like and Surtan's there. Like Surtan is supposedly overhauled the secondary. It looked abysmal in the first half. The offense was okay, but not great. Jordan Travis had back-to-back possessions where he threw weirdo passes he hasn't done.
That interception he threw was ugly, man. I mean,
well, and then the next drive was by their end zone. He threw a ball that he lucked out. I think that changed the game when that ball didn't get picked out, even though there was two LSU guys standing there and it hit both of them in the hands by the end zone. That when that dropped, he woke up. They were like, all right, listen, fuckhead, relax. Just relax. Like this team is fucking loaded. You don't have to carry them. This isn't 2 years ago.
You had to be psychotic, the whole Lubie family.
I wasn't psychotic. I was just like, look, because they hung in it. It was weird. As bad as their secondary was, and this is, I guess, where the LSU faithful are not happy. Whenever they got in the red zone, it was like the 1985 Bear. I don't know what the fuck happened, but like it was like FSU in the 90s. Like it was lockdown. Like they would get into the inside the 20, and LSU would run the dumbest plays that fit right into FSU's defense at the time.
Oh, yeah. How about those early penalties, too, when they gave like LSU 9 plays inside the 5-yard line and they couldn't score? And you're asking yourself, well, what is this Kelly doing? I mean, can he dial up a better play than that? How do you get stopped to, just stuffed eight straight times? It was crazy that they couldn't push some points across the board. Yeah, that game was kind of funny. I didn't see a lot of the second half, so unfortunately, the half that anybody would have been impressed with that was staged by Florida State, I only saw highlights of. I would say, through the first half, I don't know that I agreed with Big Al's assessment that was championship caliber material. Second half, though, the light went on apparently, and look, it was their first game, and it wasn't like they were in there against Cupcake Tech. No. So I mean, LSU was favored in the ball game, even though it was in Orlando. But so a very, very credible job there done by FSU to put themselves on the map as a team to watch and a team that gained a lot in the first week of the season. If you just sort of shrug your shoulders a little bit at that first half and some of the sluggish behavior that you saw from players on the field and some sloppy play. The refs, though, I mean, there were two just atrocious calls. It's funny because. They called, unsportsmanlike conduct, unnecessary roughness.
Nothing happened
on a couple of plays that were highly suspect. And then, I mean, in fairness, LSU has a guy that gets mauled. I mean, the Florida State defender on a goal line play in the early stages of the game. I mean, he literally, when a guy's got his back to the ball and is running in the face and making contact with the receiver in the corner of the end zone, how is that not pass interference, Lubie? How could you, no self-respecting official could keep the flag in their pocket on a play like that? And they let that go. So, I mean, but that was after two atrocious calls or very suspect calls, one against Florida State. So maybe it balanced out a little bit. Anyway, Florida State probably the most impressive over the weekend. Second half against LSU, that dominance was great. Canes get a little bit more of a test against an underachieving Texas A&M team and Jimbo Fisher trying to save his job. Two guys that were so highly coveted by every school in the country, Cristobal and Jimbo Fisher. And they're both playing to, I mean, in Cristobal's case, I don't sense that same momentum about calling for his head as you do.
No. It's not like
too soon. It's too early in the game. Yeah.
Jimbo's been there like 5 years or 4 or 5 years, and they've only had one winning season or one. They've only had one season where they looked good. Like
I was never overwhelmingly impressed with Jimbo Fisher's
I'm
coaching.
aware.
Yeah.
I'm aware. As I was,
No,
really,
I just thought, you would watch games and he had superior talent and he wasn't all that brilliant with it. I didn't think, and the fact that he was hoping, he, if anybody is an example of hoping for somebody to get hit by the B bus when they step outside the stadium, it was Jimbo waiting for Bobby Bowden to go down, right? I mean, after a while, you don't think he was sending him
oh no, he was
some of
bad.
those anonymous emails, to the office there saying, Bobby, when are you going to retire, you old fart?
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, he was promised a certain thing, so I understand that. But yeah, he was supposedly dreadful. Like he was pushing hard to end the Bobby reign. They made him the head coach in waiting, and he was like watching the clock tick. Yes, 100%. And he's him and Crystal Ball are great comparisons. They're really good recruiters. They fire up the fan base, and on game day, they let you down time and time again.
Yes. All right, a bunch of other stuff happened. I mean, it was a wide world of sports over the weekend. I don't know that we'll even have time to get near half of the stuff that happened.
The Marlins
Marlins with the sweep of the Nationals. They win all 4 games. That was great. And now find themselves half game out of the last wild card spot, although there's still a little bit of a logjam there. You have you have Arizona and Cincy tied, and Miami a half game back. The Cubs appear to have put themselves in a very strong position with the Phillies for 2 of the 3 National League wildcard spots. So essentially you have 3 teams that at this point, I mean, not that it's insurmountable, a 3-game lead, but the Cubs playing good baseball. But Arizona and Cincinnati are tied, Miami a half game back. So very much alive, Lubie, in the race. And then they host the Dodgers tonight. How weird is this? I used to love working the doubleheaders at Shea on Labor Day. It was a slice of Americana. It was like a Norman Rockwell painting, was it not? To have a doubleheader on Labor Day that started in the afternoon, and people could spend 6-8 hours at the ballpark, and it was great. I looked forward to it every Labor Day. Team didn't even play on Labor Day. The Marlins on a Monday. They just ignored it altogether, like it wasn't an American holiday, a national holiday. No mail, no banks, nothing. But no baseball either for some teams. There were games yesterday. The Marlins were not involved. They do host the Dodgers starting tonight. Julio Urias, the Dodger pitcher, second time now, suspected of some domestic violence and an incident that, according to your buddy Andy Slater, was quoted, actually, as digging up this information in the New York Post. They love Slater. 640 Fox Sports. I don't know that anybody could find that with GPS device.
Which I didn't know. Is that a beat, being on the police beat? Like that's literally all he does is report what the police have not put out to the press yet. Which I don't understand if that's a beat or not, but I guess it is.
This guy's Jimmy fucking Breslin, man. I mean, he's putting out stories before they happen, writing columns about them, and then the next day, go, oh yeah, well, look, that happened. I guess this incident took place at the Inter Miami CF soccer game against the LA Football Club. It's LAFC, which had nothing but stars. I mean, all over the place, including. Do you consider Prince Harry to be? I mean, he's a celebrity in the sense that the guy farts and people are analyzing what he had for lunch.
He's as big a celebrity worldwide as there is. Yes, whether we like him or not.
Harry, okay.
He 100% is. Yes.
I struggle to give and ascribe celebrity status to people who literally did nothing to become celebrities.
Well, I agree with you, but around the world,
was Meghan there? Markle? Was she on the scene too? I would imagine. What, does Harry go anywhere without her? I don't think so. Talk about schnorring your way into a position of tremendous identification, right? I mean, who would know Meghan Markle, right? You might remember, I remember her. Yeah, she had a hot pair of legs when she was, holding one of those suitcases there on that stupid show. What was that show called? With Howie Mandel?
I don't. Oh no, I didn't watch.
That's how she started out. She was one of the briefcase girls, where they couldn't even think of a real game to play, so they just had you pick like a suitcase from a hot model. I think number 23. Oh, look at that. Only $5,000 in there. You're fucked. What was that game? I don't think there was much
Oh my
Much
god, I
to
can't
it.
remember I forgot what it's called. Andy,
Yeah.
Andy, I feel like watched it. It feels like an
Who do you
Andy
trust? Yeah, who do you trust? I think was the game. No, I don't know.
show. Who do you trust?
Anyway, so yeah, this supposedly took place there, and so Urias, I mean, won't be a part of. How many games is a series? Is it going to be like just 2 games against the Dodgers? A couple of games? I'm not sure. They play Tuesday and Wednesday. Kershaw going tonight against Luzardo. Luzardo's
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they
okay.
play the Phillies. Oh Jesus Christ!
Yes, well, I mean, why not? Just if you're going to be the best, Lubie, what do you got to do?
Lose to the best.
I got to beat the best. Do I have to be Newt Rockney to get this point across? Let's win one for the Kipper. Kipper's laid up. He ain't doing nothing. What if they didn't care for the Kipper?
Oh my god,
that would have been it. But anyway, yeah. So here's the acid test coming up. Phillies don't have anything locked up. I mean, even though they're well ahead in the wild card chase, pretty solid position. The Marlins did come in 1997.
Deal or no deal? Deal or no deal?
Deal or no deal? 2003 it was. 2003. They came from 5 games back on September 1st in the wild card chase. They were 5 games behind the Phillies. There were less wild card spots. I believe there was only 1 back then. And the Marlins came in September from 5 games back. Can they do it? Can they sustain it? Will this be a springboard, Lubie? A 4-game sweep of the Nationals. Some of them won in dramatic fashion. It was great. And, they managed, even when they were about to blow a game, to find ways to come back and win them. Bloop hits were gone for key runs. They really did a great job in this series. And Luzardo's been pitching great. So can he outduel Kershaw tonight? That's the question. That'll put the spotlight on that with a lot riding on it because you're going to have to win against some quality opposition over the next week anyway to keep yourself in this race. So we'll see what happens there. And, the Messi thing, that they win again. Messi with a couple of assists. I mean, I have to say, and I had this conversation also as part of my conversation with this gentleman, Radar, about Brian Kelly. He hates Kelly because, is this fair? He blames Kelly for the death of that kid at Notre Dame.
If you talk to Ken, then he and Ken must be kindred spirits. Ken has never let that. It never became a big deal, but people who around the college football world will always bring it up when it comes to him.
Yeah. Kid, that was very windy, and the kid was his job was to go up and run the camera from the scaffold or whatever they put up there, and a platform that they put up, which he would have to go up a number of stairs. You know how that thing works, right? Where they're doing the overhead shot of the field as best they can of practice. And supposedly the kid, at least this is what this gentleman was telling me, and I don't remember all the details of the story. But the kid said, hey, no, I don't want to go up there today. It's dangerous. And basically Kelly told him, look, you shove it up your ass. If you don't go up there, you're finished. It's going to cost you your job here. And so the kid went up there, and then the tower blew down, and that was that.
Yes, and he got away with it, and they were
like essentially, sending a kid to his death.
Yes. Most people who are honest.
How does that get buzzed over by the announcers every game? Did they ever mention it? I don't think so.
They never mentioned it then.
They talk about how wonderful this guy is.
Never became a thing, but supposedly he's a total jackass. Yes, people who know him or around him are not fans of Brian Kelly. The fucking Cajun accent thing. You were there.
That was unbelievable. Yeah.
And the dancing stuff where he was trying to be cool and he looked like a fool. I don't know. I never cared about the guy either way, but seeing, because FSU fans, we were quiet. LSU, he went on radio. Like, who does this? You should have lost by double digits last year. Norvell, he was still in his let me get cute phase until NC State. And then the last 6 games, he woke the fuck up. And from that point on, he's been a whole different coach in game day. Like, Kelly, you barely won that game. Like, what are you talking about? He was going on radio shows going, we're going to beat the heck out of them. They got lucky last year. Screw them. And we had Norvell. Norvell didn't say anything. He does the coach speak to the max.
No, Norvell is not the type that's going to be stirring that kind of pot.
He's a jackass.
Claims.
FSU fans have been very happy to repost LSU fans losing their shit since the game. And they hate him. They hate Brian Kelly. And Notre Dame fans are like, we told you. Ha, ha, ha. Screw that guy. I'm like, I never thought of him as that guy. But supposedly he's a choke artist. Like, any fan of a team of his thinks he's a massive choke artist.
It was it was funny. And then we were discussing that, and then we were talking about soccer. I asked the guy if he was a soccer fan, thinking he wasn't, because we seem to agree on a lot of things. And he said, yeah, he's buying into it. And that the athleticism of the players, which if you saw these 2 assists by Messi in this LAFC game, which I did see the highlights, and they were spectacular athletic moves by Messi, who seems to be toying with the opposition as he's making these moves. I mean, he does his stuff, and you're like, wait a minute, that guy's just doing that with his feet? That's incredible. But as great as it is, I couldn't help but think, it's not like these players don't have athleticism. It's just that this athleticism is completely wasted in a stupid game. How great would it be if Messi was the shortstop for the Marlins? He'd probably be brilliant, right? With this athleticism. But, I mean, to go ahead and apply, I mean, it's like, I would say, people would have thought that it was unfortunate to apply being an intellectual like an Andy Byer to handicapping horse races. But look, it paid off for him, right? So maybe I should be less, I mean, I'm a little more reluctant to condemn people that are playing soccer. But if you had this phenomenal athleticism, why would you go into a sport that is completely stupid and wasted? Seriously.
Around the world, it's not. Our football's stupid.
Sarni was telling me that who's the other guy that signed with Messi, the other veteran?
Busquets and Alba. Alba actually been playing well.
Oh, Busquets. But Busquets apparently bought a house like right down the street here at the Sea Ranch Lakes.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I didn't realize there were like $8 million homes in that
complex here. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, around it could be on the intercoastal.
Yeah, you're intercoastal.
Yeah.
Obviously.
All right. Well, anyway, so yeah, I'm neighbors with this guy. Somewhat. There's a big wall there, and you would have to go by security. They're not letting any schlep on his walk of life just go strolling in there. That's for sure. Sea Ranch Lakes. All right. We're coming back with more. Tony Segreto is going to join us today because Lubie is off to Morocco. And we're going to probably take a couple of days off from this show Wednesday and Thursday and come back on Friday with a Degenerate Friday and then figure out exactly how we're going to approach next week. I would imagine we at least do a couple of shows, get the Monday show in on the NFL opening
Football
week.
Reaction Monday. You'll have the Jets and the Bills coming up, their Super Bowl march.
Right. And then, we'll see what we do the rest of the week there. But we will be at least coming your way with some Degenerate Friday activity and, of course, Monday review. So we'll have that for you. And then Lubie's off to Morocco, where you're going to be, for a week and a half now?
I'm back a week from Friday. Yes, sir.
How do you feel about eating like roasted lamb? Lamb and honey was a big thing.
I like lamb. Yeah, I have no problem with
lamb and honey.
I don't know how it's prepared.
But it wasn't like you're eating lamb chops or, the way that they prepare it is a little bit different than you would be accustomed to in the good old US of A. But, lamb and honey, I forget what they call that dish. But that was a big thing, lamb and honey. And lamb was all over the couscous as well. They would throw that right on there with the vegetables. I do like the spices that they used in Morocco on that couscous, whatever you had. With it, whether it was just carrots, celery, whatever. But it was absolutely, a taste sensation. You might get tired of it by the time you're done there, but it was good. And don't forget about the Bastilla pie there, Lubie. I would order one right away. It would be like going to a stand at the Italian Festival in New York and getting the Zeps for the first time.
Okay.
And you're thinking, wow, where has this been my entire life? Good stuff. All right, we're coming back. Tony Segreto is going to join us today. And then also later on, Antwan Staley, who was now with the Daily News, New York Daily News, good friend of the program. Lubie discovered him when he was somewhat of a .com schmank.
He was covering the Dolphins and Canes for Antwan Sports, like an offshoot of USA.
And where's Antwan Sports today? Is that around?
I don't know. It's not.
Probably doesn't exist, right? How about Jason Cole changing affiliations again? That guy's amazing. I mean, he really is. I wish I was in that hot demand at this point in my life where, every time there's a new organization, you're the first guy that they have to hire. It's fantastic. But he was with that Outkick thing. Does that not do well, Lubie? I mean,
it leans very strongly in one direction that Cole doesn't. So I don't think they gave him crap because he was just a senior NFL insider. But
yeah,
I presume as soon as something else came up, he was probably going to be happy to go there. because he's like the only guy that leans this one way, and everyone else leans very hard the other way. Like they make sports coverage political the way that we
Oh
do.
yeah, okay, all right. So they probably have like pictures of Trump making or shooting
It's not about Trump. It's
that
just
64 or whatever. Yeah.
like the Kaepernick shit. They find a way to bitch about it. Like
Oh.
anything when it's like ESPN supposedly goes one way, and maybe they do.
They go the other way? Oh, okay.
Really hard on
Yeah.
anything they can. They're very quick to the trans thing. And I actually agree with them, to be brutally honest, but I'm not going to yell and scream about it. Like they'll do whole segments pointing out the hypocrisy of the trans. And it's like, okay, guys.
It's a little weird. I mean, when a guy is like smoking these world championship
Oh, it's
swimmers, and he would have been hard pressed to make the Penn State swimming team, but all of a sudden he looks like I mean, literally like Michael Phelps. Yeah. And this has nothing to do with your opinion about transgender people. Look, live your life any way that you want to. I'm an advocate of that as long as you're not hurting anybody else. It's all fine with me. All right, so coming back, Tony Segreto going to join us here. We'll see what he thought about the Hurricane game. And, of course, Duke knocking off Clemson last night. That was absolutely delightful. I loved every second of that.
That was so great.
Who's this guy, Sergeant Bilko, that's coaching Duke?
Mike Elko. He was actually A&M's defensive coordinator. The one thing Jimbo did right, and even that didn't work out for him because the guy is doing a hell of a job at Duke.
I thought it was like a little bit of a weighty Phil Silvers there on the sideline. It's great. All right, Tony's coming up. We'll talk to Ed Garcia. He saw Michigan come out of the chute there with a very easy win over their patsy opposition as Jim Harbaugh sat out the game for some ungodly reason based on the potential threat of an NCAA suspension. They're getting out ahead of it, and they had him sit out the first. Now that's going to be 3 games, but all pretty much against Patsies, unless you consider Rutgers a threat off of their big victory.
He'll be back for the Rutgers game because that's the one Big Ten game they have, and they made sure he's back for Rutgers.
Oh yeah, okay, all right. I thought he was going to sit that one out. I think that was like their 3rd game of the season.
It's their 4th game. He's missing 3. They play 3 literal bullshit games, 3 in a row.
Perfect. All right, we'll talk to Tony, and then Antwan Staley, who covers the New York Jets for the Daily News, is going to join us here. Jets open up the season on a Monday night against the Buffalo Bills with Aaron Rodgers, and a lot of optimism. Jet guys are really popping off. I mean, it's to the point where you're hoping they get crushed like a grape in that opening game.
ESPN it's become the new Cowboys and LeBron. Like they have to talk about the Jets every day on every show.
Every day. And that's all you hear about. So now I'm hoping Rodgers throws like 3 picks. Although I do appreciate that Rodgers is acknowledging all of these other sports and getting involved in the U.S. Open. I mean, he's at everything. It's fantastic. All right, back with Tony in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:06.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
What we're going to do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
Tell me, doctor, where are we going?
All right, welcome back to the show. Interesting proposal here on the Morocco trip of Mike Lubitz from our good friend Andy. Want to know if you're either going to be eating matzah or fasting while you're in Morocco, Lubie.
Yeah, I don't know why. I didn't understand the reference.
Yeah.
Am I missing something?
I don't think you'll find too many matzahs there. All right, Tony Segreto joins us here, the great one himself. Tony, how are you, my friend? How was your weekend?
I'm fine. Oh, what a great weekend.
Yeah.
Great weekend. I got to watch college football, sat in front of the TV, and didn't move.
Okay, Lubie was impressed with the Hurricanes. Let's start there. I Ohio. It looked to me like the Hurricanes were perfectly capable of pushing these guys around. They win by convincing enough margin to make you think that they performed well in the game. What was your thought on the Hurricanes' performance?
I thought it was workmanlike. I thought that they played like they played as well as they could play without giving up too much of the farm. You know, they didn't want to like expose too much.
What is it that they're hiding, though? I mean,
well,
I always find that the weirdest concept.
I just think that some of the plays that they use are they're just holding back. You know, they're just going back to the basics. I liked it. You know, it's a step in the right direction for them, and you can tell that they played different. They were hard. It's just that they played like they should have played. Let's put it that way.
All right. You know, we'll have to do some thinking. Can't get our arms wrapped around that.
Well, they play like, you know.
Lubie said their passing game absolutely, was abysmal. That they couldn't throw the ball down the field, and that scared the living daylights.
I don't understand. Okay, so what are you scared of showing? Like, it's
I never buy. Just show me what you got.
Like, you're not playing fucking Alabama for the national championship game. Like that's my thing. Like A&M's been dreadful. Like to me, fine in the second half when it was close and they just wanted to pull away. Good. At least Cristobal did what worked. I wish Norvell did that in year 2 when we lost to fucking Jacksonville State. Fine, but in the first half, that's not what I saw. They were trying to throw the ball, and Van Dyke. The line looked horrendous. Van Dyke looked horrible. The receivers weren't getting open. And it was like he finally at half said, screw it. Let's just do what works and get a win. I agree with that. But the first half, Cane fans can tell themselves whatever they want. I was looking for, okay, it's a new day, a new coordinator. He's in sync with Van Dyke. We're going to see the old Van Dyke. Everything was within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. And whenever they took chucks, he was airmailing it.
They could not throw it downfield.
That's my thing.
That's the thing that they prevented from doing, throwing it downfield. And that's the case. If that's the case, then they got to figure out a way to move it. But I figure for the first game, give them a break, and then we'll go to the second game. We'll see what happens against Texas A&M. Now, this is a big game for them. They're going to have it's a big game. I don't care what. Texas A&M is a brand name, and it's a brand school.
They're ranked,
and their antennas up. Believe me, their antennas up.
All right, we'll see what happens. Jimbo coming up that abysmal 5-7 last year. Two teams met last year, and it looked like the Hurricanes had every opportunity to win the game. I would say that also led to suspicions that Mario Cristobal's game day coaching may not be the greatest, and may not be at a level of his ability to recruit and bring good players into the program. But good little litmus test. Now, are you going to go to that game, Texas A&M, as part of your capacity as a bowl committee member with the Orange Bowl and also board of directors of the University of Miami? You're going to be there, Tony? All right.
The game's here. I mean, it's at Hard Rock.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking Hard Rock Stadium for this one. What is that? Afternoon ball game? Do you know what time they're kicking that off?
3:30.
Okay. All right. Should be a national TV broadcast, I would imagine also. So good stepping stone possibly for the Canes.
Florida State looked awful good.
Florida State second half of that ball game, tremendous against LSU. What are your thoughts? Because you have an affection and a soft spot in your heart there, Tony, for Notre Dame football. You've often mentioned it as if you were a disciple of Newt Rockne himself. But Brian Kelly, what are your thoughts about this guy?
He's a phone.
Did you like him when he was there?
He's a
I guess
phony.
that would be question one.
He's
Did
a
you like
phony.
him when he was there?
Funny.
Phony. Okay. Don't hold back, Tony.
You want me to put it? No, you want me to put it like it is. It is.
Yes. Okay.
Did I like him while he was there? I put up with him while he was there.
Okay.
And when he was signed to go, good riddance,
That's
because that's the way it is. And he's a charlatan. He saw a place to go where he could go win. He could go win now, but he didn't anticipate the pressure that would come with it. And now they're calling for his head.
I mean, if they canned Ogeron, right? I thought Ed Ogeron did a good job there. I certainly didn't think that, and I don't know. I guess was there some other stuff there with Eddie O?
Oh yeah,
Behind the scenes, was he banging like the chancellor's wife or something? I mean, there was something else working there. No,
but see, Brian Kelly thought there was pressure at Notre Dame. Brian Kelly did not know what kind of pressure was until they got to LSU.
These Cajuns are crazy. Yes, you're right.
They're losing their mind. It's so funny.
Now he's under the gun, and he has to he has to do a lot to win back their approval. But I have to say this, that Florida State looked so much better than the LSU that wasn't even funny. It wasn't even funny. They dominated the line of scrimmage. They dominated the passing game. They dominated the running game. They dominated every part of the game.
Second half, yeah. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, I turned away from it in the second half there, so I didn't see this domination. But
and then Duke last night, wow.
That was terrific, yeah.
Duke last night, they just hammered them. They came prepared to play, and they played their ass off.
Well, what was cool too, I mean, you don't normally see this where Dabo Swinney's coach teams are making those kind of mistakes in.
Yeah, the fumbles. They had 2 fumbles inside the 10. And Clemson, even as bad as they played, should have still won easily. Like, that was weird. Like, it was really weird.
Yeah.
Very uncharacteristic of Clemson football.
I was so happy for Duke. I was so happy for them. Now they have to play Miami. They have to play Notre Dame. Then that's going to be the test. But now Notre Dame's got, you looked at the schedule at the beginning of the season, and Miami looked at the schedule, and you saw that Duke was on there. Well, now you can't say that.
Yeah, they were better. Our handicapping friend, Mark Lawrence of PlaybookSports.com, said this was part of his 18 is whatever theory. What was it?
Yes.
I forget the exact wording of it, but that, having like the Sweet 18, and they had 18 starters coming back.
Yeah.
So, that was a big factor in his handicapping opinion, which was to take, I think it was 16 points, a very generous allotment.
To be 18 again. To be 18 again.
Oh, to be 18 again, yeah. And it worked in that game, and it bombed out in the other game that he gave us.
Well, Elko was a defensive coordinator at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Then he left there to go with Jimbo to Texas A&M, and now he's over at Duke, and he is one hell of a coach.
Very likable guy.
He is. Oh yeah, just one hell of a coach. And
I know you're a Dabo fan, but and I was at one time until
I'm a Dabo fan, but still, it was just good to see. It was good to see them win so big, so convincingly, and it was just good to see. And a lot of these schools that in the past have been they're going to be patsies. They're not patsies anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean you can change things. I guess fairly quickly now with the right number of the right transfers. Yeah. And plus, incoming class. But Elko. I mean, he looked like somebody that you would want to go and play for if you were a kid, no doubt.
Elko's the type of guy you're going to go sit and have a beer with.
Yeah, he was great. But I mean, are they still using the same academic standards there at Duke for football players?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Okay, so they're not just taking guys out of the local penitentiary, like a Lane Kiffin would,
Yeah.
putting them in a
Notre Dame,
graduate program in philosophy,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
somehow they're acing all of their courses to stay eligible. It's great. Yeah.
Duke, Stanford, Notre Dame still
man.
hold the high esteem for their
Still have some standards, huh?
education.
What about Michigan? Well, what do you think about that game? Speaking of sports, and let's bring in. Should we bring in like a real authority on Michigan football here?
Let's bring them in.
There he is, and with the stadium in the background, who's better than this guy? Ed Garcia joins us here on the show.
And I can't believe it. You got the stadium in the background. You got the M on the side, and
I'm ready to rock and roll.
well, the first 4 games. I mean, you just bank them up.
Yep. No, they're looking good. They're looking good, man. What about that air game? JJ McCarthy was just throwing bullets all day. I mean, his percentage was through the roof. So very, very exciting to see. Obviously, that first drive they came out a little bit soft, but they got the jitters. And but overall, I mean, what a fantastic weekend for some football.
Did you go? I thought you said you were going to this thing.
No, I'm going to the Bowling Green game, and not this weekend, but the following weekend. So it's the 7:30 game. So I want to see the night lights, the new scoreboard, and all that fun and exciting stuff.
You're going to go there without the coach on the sideline.
That is correct. Yes. So that's the one. Sharon will be coaching that game, though. So that should be pretty cool to see.
If you wear your khakis and you wear your Michigan blue shirt, there's a chance that you could go on the sideline.
Coach.
Oh yeah, I'm working.
I'm surprised they didn't offer you that.
I'm bummed Sharon didn't invite me over to his house with Jim on Saturday to watch the game. But it is what it is.
You got to believe that he was on the phone with them all day.
Oh,
100%. 100%. That was that just had to be such a weird out of body experience to watch your team on TV. I mean, that's got to be something else. But they did well. It was really cool how they represented them as well. Obviously not on the first drive, but on the second drive, I don't know if you saw, but they all held up the number 4 in honor of his number, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Doesn't it seem like ridiculous though, Ed? I mean, Tony, this whole thing. I mean, for what would seem to be minor recruiting violations at best, and maybe going against some of the parameters that were drawn up for COVID practices. How does the NCAA have any authority to regulate any of this? And then on top of that, it's Michigan that's capitulated to the idea that he was going to be suspended for 3 games. So they suspended him for these 3 games so that he may ultimately get out with, as they would say in the legal system, time served. But I mean, what is the point of this suspension at all? It just doesn't make any sense when you have the transfer portal now and guys getting paid, millions of dollars to go. I mean, I don't know what Sam Hartman got to go to Notre Dame, but I'm sure it was a nice piece of change.
I agree with you. I agree wholeheartedly with you, dude.
I feel the consistency, is terrible, to say the least.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible what some universities do, and then the punishment that they get. Hey, we're going to go ahead and take your win away from 1957, but then
Yes.
other teams, they get penalized. They're like, for the next 3 years, you can't do nothing. So
You're stripped of your national championship in 1935.
Right.
But I mean, under what authority, though, are people, sort of going along with whatever the NCAA might have in mind for, this particular or whatever series of infractions, which I don't know. I mean, you don't think Ryan Day did a few of these things at Ohio State?
Right. Oh, it's just not getting caught is the name of the game out there, and people are slick, and boosters can help quite a bit as well, I'm sure. And it's a challenging practice, and everybody's looking for that edge, to get out there and win, and they look for that gray. That gray area, so where you can kind of err on one side or the other. But it makes college football to an extent. I'm not saying it's right by no means. There just needs to be consistency on how it gets handled, and just need to draw the lines a little bit better.
Well, you don't need an edge at the Texas Roadhouse.
Wow.
Go there.
Absolutely not. No, I'll tell you, I love it. Making from scratch. The next 3 days, got a really big tour and visit of all my restaurants, and super excited to see. I mean, we're going to just start off in the morning going through all the steaks, and Actually have, I think, yeah, you almost were a big part of it. But tomorrow we have a huge cutoff. We're bringing in all my cutters from across the state, and we're meeting in Port St. Lucie, and they're going to show off their skills. And they get a loin of sirloin, loin of filet, and a loin of ribeye. And they cut them, and then we have 3 judges. They go through and they look at every single steak, whether there's an 1/8 of an inch too much fat, or if it's too long, too short, whatever the situation may be. And after they go through that, one of them gets crowned the champion. And if they cut over a certain percentage, they move on to the next round, where the ultimate winner can win $25,000. It's really cool.
Nice.
So they're basically starting off their fall madness, is what we can call it. So pretty exciting stuff. But it just tells you how serious we take it. I mean, it is an art to cut our steaks. I mean, they're hand cut, number one. You can tell they're fresh, never frozen. So just, high quality, and you can taste it 100%.
Wow. And it's not just the steaks. You do everything like that. Everything is like that. Salmon, the hamburgers, the chicken, everything. Trout.
Yes. The baked potatoes, sweet potatoes coming out of the oven fresh every 15 minutes. Mashed potatoes are being made. I mean, we don't make big batches in the morning like other concepts do. I mean, that'd be the easy button. Number one, we're not there, Monday through Friday in the morning, because we're really open at dinner except for the weekends. So in the afternoon, or, we come in and, whether between noon, 1, 2, and that's when we start, making fresh salad mix, the dressings, all that stuff. You can taste the difference in the quality, and you can see it in the price too. So because we're not having someone else freeze it, cut it, and all that stuff, that's one of the reasons why we can stay so value driven and enjoy dinner, quite frankly, cheaper than going to the grocery store. Yeah. So, but
that sounds like a weekend getaway.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. And you have the NFL getting underway
on
Thursday night, Kansas City and Detroit. And what better way to take it in than a Texas Roadhouse with what I like. I mean, your attention to detail with the temperature of the beers that you serve is unparalleled. I mean, you can go to some fancy, brewery or whatever, and IPA place, and they don't compare. I mean, and then in a frozen mug, it's just absolutely fantastic. That's the way to do it, Ed Garcia.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, ice cold beer, a couple of peanuts, and that fresh baked bread. You can't go wrong.
That's all you need.
Can't go wrong. Yeah. It's funny. Lubie and I, we did one of our food shows there from New York Yankee Steak, and they're a top-notch quality. But we dove into a steak that would normally go for $125. Which, while it was spectacular, I was thinking, geez, we could have fed all of us at Texas Roadhouse
right, yeah.
for that same bucket and a quarter. I mean, it's a bargain by comparison to virtually any other place of its type.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that. We love taking care of our communities and keeping those prices as low as we can keep them, so that way you can keep coming back for more and more.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. Ed, thanks. Good luck next week.
Let's go. Let's go Blue.
The next Michigan game. And thanks so much for joining us.
Boy, I tell you what, you can't say it any better than that, than Defo.
I love his affection for Michigan football. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm not a giant Michigan fan. I don't root against them, not like I do certain teams like Notre Dame or Ohio State. Where I'm just rooting against them every game. I root against Jimbo, I would say, every game. Texas A&M. Love to see them lose. So we'll be all in on the Hurricanes on this one, but. When a guy's that passionate about a team, you do appreciate it.
Yeah, you do, and you appreciate Texas Roadhouse for what he is, for what he stands for, and for if his restaurants hold up to what he stands for, then there's good.
He makes sure of it. This guy's hands on. It's pretty incredible.
It is something. It's.
Real good family place and a great place to catch all of the games at Thursday night. Well, what do you think? Dolphins, a season opener before we get going here, Tony? Season opener against the Los Angeles Chargers on the road. Chargers favored by 2 and a hook in most places. What do you? People keep asking me, and I don't know what the answer is. They keep saying, "Hey, what do you think about the Dolphins this year?"
I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue one way or the other. It's.
I mean, they won't be bad. I can't imagine that they're like a 5-win team. There's no way I could see that unless, they just are devastated by injury. But what do you think? Are they really good? Lubie seems to think yes.
We'll find out on Sunday.
There you go, Tony. Always coming back with like just pure 100% logic here. Right? Well, I mean, and the Chargers with Staley. I mean, just a bizarre underachieving team. I think, although maybe I'm overestimating. The Herbert versus Tua argument here, because I think Herbert is vastly superior as a pro prospect, and has already acquitted himself very well. But when you look at the stats, Tua when he plays actually does all right for himself.
Well,
I mean, he doesn't have the strapping throwing arm.
Doesn't have it, but he wins he has the same record.
Yeah.
With worse
Interesting. Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Well, there's something about going out west that just plays.
Yes, it's not great. Yeah, it's not great.
And
how many Boses are holding out? I think even John Bosa is holding out. I guess Nick is holding out with San Francisco, right? And
John Bosa.
Who's the other guy? Joe with the Chargers? Is he still
Joey and Nick? Yeah, Joey.
Yeah.
John Bosa was a heck of a player and a nice guy, and I'm happy for him that his sons,
amazing. I mean,
his sons are surpassing him as a player. They're all.
Well, when you draft a player, though, shouldn't you have the rights to his sperm? We'd have both of these guys. Imagine one on the right side, one on the left. It would be impossible to score on the Dolphins.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it would.
That's my theory, the sperm bank theory.
Oh my God!
Right? You draft Ted Ginn and his family. Yeah, I mean, you may as well draft John Bosa and whatever offspring he's about to.
Again, does a guy with a sperm have? He can fumble the first kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, Bosa unfortunately was deemed a bust here with the Miami Dolphins because he wasn't really on the field very much. He had really decimated by injuries his entire career there.
Yeah, he played a little bit, but he was okay. He was okay for like a third-round pick, but
he wasn't Jackie Shipp. Yeah.
No, he wasn't.
He was no Jackie Shipp. Let's put it that way. Tony, we love you, man. What do you got going? I guess you're heading for the game that's coming up. Saturday afternoon, Texas A&M.
Saturday afternoon against.
That'll be a lot of fun. All right, we'll see what we think. Well, we'll get a little more of a litmus test for where the Hurricanes are out under Mario Cristobal, and then nothing would make me happier than to see Jimbo Fisher sent home with a spanking to the tune of about 42-7.
You're gonna be surprised, Jeff.
I hope so. I'm a big Hurricane fan. You know that. I have a place in my heart for the Canes after dealing with them for so many years. You can't help but hope that someday this turns around. But I'm still blaming Donna Shalala. All right. We love you, Tony.
We love you, Segreto.
Talk to you soon, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen. And Ed Garcia. Tony, very optimistic about both. No, he's kind of, very temperate about the Miami Dolphins. I don't know what I really don't know what to say because I'm asking, the question would be, what would you consider to be a successful season to make the postseason again?
I think they're going to
win a playoff game, actually look like a contender all year long. What do you think?
I haven't gone on record, made a prediction, but I'm going to be gone for the next week and have a season start. And you made me make a prediction about FSU and LSU, and I ended up being spot on even more than I realized. So that was nice.
Yeah.
For me, I think Peter King had them going 9-8 again. That's a failure. And if that's the case, Mike McDaniel should be on a hot seat.
9-8 would be a very, you talk about mired in mediocrity. That would be 3 years in a row, 9-8, whether they had a good team or a team that you thought wasn't all that great under Brian Flores.
They've given him all the talent in the world across the board. To me, they're an 11-12 win team, and they should win a playoff game. If that doesn't happen, it's a failure. And Tua should play 15 or more games. If either of those things doesn't happen, it is a failed season, and you will probably see a Rams type of turnover. You should. I don't know. Stephen Ross has lost his fucking shit, but you should see a massive overhaul in this offseason if they don't win 11-12 games, if Tua doesn't play 15 or more games. Those are the benchmarks for me.
They've got Johnny Chant to an extent. I mean, they've shoveled someone all in. All of that draft capital that they had accumulated when they were dealing away top-level players for draft picks has now been soaked up by the players that they have on the current roster. A lot of multiple first-round picks going for players. Unfortunately, Jalen Ramsey, who probably would have been very influential on their defense, not going to be able to line up until supposedly December, if that. So that one goes right out the window. Jalen Waddle, we really haven't heard too much about his status. He's been injured throughout the preseason. Do we know what's happening with this guy? Because if it weren't for Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle would be Tyreek Hill on this team. And, it makes for a dynamic force there on the outside. I mean, we haven't seen this, haven't had this feeling here since Clayton and Duper were manning the outside post, no? But haven't heard too much about him. The Armstead thing is always questionable and suspect. So, that's a huge factor. And we don't know. Did they ever resolve their issues on the right side and at left guard? Maybe.
The line's a disaster. That's the thing. They spent all the money everywhere and they didn't upgrade the line.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. McDaniel and Greer were in on that together, supposedly. They believe in Austin Jackson.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not sure about McDaniel yet either. Nothing terrible. I don't want to doubt him, but there were some suspicious looking moves that he made last year. No,
100%. His coaching was suspect. He did exactly what you said not to. You always say, and I actually quote
don't get cute.
Games. Don't get cute. And he did it.
There you go. I mean, done in by the dropper. Look at this center guy, man. Missed about 5 drop shots. I could hear Mustang yelling, "What do you got to try that stupid shot for? Why don't you just hit the fucking ball like a man?" Mixed doubles, man. Don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. All right. Antwan Staley is scheduled to join us here for the final 10 minutes or so of the show. And we'll talk a little bit about his coverage of the New York Jets, who play in the Monday night, a little marquee matchup there in the AFC East. We'll find out a little bit more about where the AFC East is, at least early in the season, when the Bills meet the Jets. And we'll get some insight into that in just a moment. On that.
The time.
It's 8:34. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
You can't fake caring. Women can sense this immediately. You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Opening week of the National Football League season gets underway on Thursday night. Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Detroit Lions. The Monday night game is going to be a colossal way to wind things up, as I think people are sleeping a little bit on the Buffalo Bills. Nobody's sleeping on the New York Jets, although they may find themselves, Jet bettors may find themselves sleeping in the streets somewhere around midseason. If things don't go as anticipated, we welcome to the show from the New York Daily News, a beat writer on the Jets beat, and a good friend of the program here. We love this guy. Antwan Staley joins us here on the show. Antwan, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good morning, Antwan.
Doing okay, man. Is Rex Ryan coaching some of these people on being braggadocio before the season gets underway? This DJ Reed story is a big headline story today, at least in my New York Post, where he has compared the Jets defense for 2023 to having the potential to eclipse the 85 Bears, who we saw here at the Orange Bowl. Their only loss sustained against a brilliant Dan Marino that night. And they were phenomenal. I mean, is this getting to be a little bit too much? What do you think? Or are there legitimate reasons to make these comparisons?
Well, yeah, you ought to see our back page this morning. I know you're a post guy, which I'll forgive you for that. But yeah, I think it's just a lot of hype. I mean, it's crazy to say. The Bears, 85 Bears defense is benchmark. I feel like it's measured of all defenses, at least modern day.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, it could go 2,000 Ravens and the 85 Bears. I guess.
But 85 Bears is that benchmark, though, right? Like all the defenses wanted to be the 85 Bears.
They're all great. Yeah.
They're the standard that everybody else measures themselves against. Yeah, I think the Ravens, Buccaneers, the Legion of Boom, like 2013, Denver, 2015. But yeah, I mean, I think you just got to go out there and do it at this point. I think I kind of wrote about this in the column yesterday. Like, all the time for talk is over. Like, now we can just play games and just see how it all pans out. I do think the Jets would be a really good team, but to say they have a chance to be legendary, yeah, that's a lot.
Yes, and on the other side, obviously, everybody's in wild anticipation of Aaron Rodgers' debut, and there's reason to believe that there'd be marked improvement, and yet, very much like the Miami Dolphins, who you've covered in the past, they find themselves with. I mean, when you have like two big question marks on the offensive line, there are only 5 positions there. So that's like 40%.
Yeah.
I don't know where the Jets stand on that, but we know that the Dolphins are suspect possibly at 60% of the offensive line spots. So, I mean, where do the Jets stack up there? Can they hold up over the course of the season with my man Mekhi Becton out there on the right side?
Yeah, I find it weird that all the teams, just about all the teams, except the Patriots, really, although they have offensive line issues, but not as much as I think the Bills and the Dolphins and also the Jets too. I think the Jets, especially Dwayne Brown, he just turned 38. He'll be on the left hand side, and can he hold up? I imagine he can. He basically played on one shoulder last year, and then you talk about Mekhi Becton. Can he sustain that excellence like we kind of saw his rookie year? Like we saw that we thought he's going to be one of the better tackles in football, and then of course injuries rise and he hasn't been on the field. But yeah, I definitely think they need these guys to stay healthy. Otherwise, it can get really murky. Last year they had 11 different players starting on the offensive line. That was the most in the NFL. You can't really win with that much turnover on the line. Otherwise, it's going to be really rough for Aaron Rodgers.
So I love talking to you because you've sort of done what Defo talks about in the media, but you've done it around teams that we discuss, we talk about, and you either covered them and you still keep an eye on them. But we first met you covering the Dolphins and the Canes. You've covered the Knowles. You are now covering the Jets. Before, I do want to talk a little college football with you because I know you still keep an eye on it. You're a huge college football fan, and you also still talk about it. But you are now doing a podcast somewhere we are connected to, the Back Page on Believe Network with David Furones. I don't know if he was a guest or you're doing it with David Furones, who does cover the Dolphins down here, and I know you're really friendly with. So you do still have an eye on the Dolphins while you're covering the Jets, AFC East foes. And you were when we first met you, you were covering the Dolphins during a different time. There's a lot of expectations. A lot of money has been pumped into the Dolphins, just like the Jets. And there's a lot of question marks around their coach, who made some questionable calls last year, and the talent. I mean, again, the offensive line is a big issue. When you're looking at the Dolphins this year, what are your expectations? What's a failed season for the Miami Dolphins?
You said a failed season.
Like, what would be a successful season / what would be a failed season for the Dolphins?
Oh, winning the AFC East, they got to win a playoff game. I mean, we're talking about the Jets and their playoff drought. They hadn't made the playoffs. They have the longest drought in professional sports now. The Dolphins had to win a playoff game since Bill Clinton was in office. So, yeah, you got to be able to playoffs together.
True.
Win the AFC East, and yeah, I definitely think that would be a successful season for me with the Dolphins. Winning the playoff, getting to the playoffs, winning the division, and winning a playoff game.
All right, we're going to see the Buffalo Bills opposing the New York Jets there on Monday night. I don't know. I mean, towards the end of last year, that they showed vulnerability. I mean, they nearly lost to the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson at quarterback, a guy who, while he looked good in spots, looked horrendous, equally so in maybe even many more spots. Are they suspect this year? I mean, there was supposedly some acrimony there. You're talking about Josh Allen and his wide receiver were supposedly at odds. The coaching staff. What do you make of the Buffalo Bills? I mean, should they not be favored to win the division again?
They're the team to beat until proven otherwise. However, it does seem like there's a lot of smoke that's going on with them between Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, and are they happy? And also, quite frankly, I feel like has the gap really closed on them. I think has their window diminished. Because I feel like at one time they were the team to beat the second best team in the AFC, and now I don't think anybody says that's the case anymore. I think people are looking at Cincinnati and obviously Kansas City, and you look at Baltimore, and now people are gassing up the Jets and Dolphins. Like, I just think the Bills are kind of lost in the shuffle. But anytime you have Josh Allen on your team, you're definitely going to have a window for success. It's just a matter of what that window is. But they got smacked in the mouth by Cincinnati last year, and that defense isn't nearly as good as I think a lot of people thought it was. But yeah, I still think they're the team to beat in the AFC East. But yeah, I think the window has shrunken to the point where they don't necessarily have that grasp over the division like they once did.
Everybody chasing the Kansas City Chiefs come back as defending Super Bowl champions. They managed to overcome the defection of some top talent, including Tyreek Hill last year, and still ended up winning the championship. Will there, in your opinion, Antwan Staley, be a changing of the guard as the champion of the AFC this season?
I like Cincinnati. I think it's their time. I just think it's hard to repeat. But you never count out a guy like Patrick Mahomes and what he's able to do. And I mean, he's all world. He might go down as the best quarterback of all time. Although I'm not. Some people are willing to put him there already. I'm not. You got to go out there and do it. And you don't necessarily need 7 championships to be the best of all time. But at the same time, he's still young in his career where he still has time to eventually get there. But yeah, I think Cincinnati just kind of, and then getting Orlando Brown Jr. Away from Kansas City, I think that was huge for their offensive line. And we've seen the Bengals they don't fear the Chiefs at all. Like, they've been able to beat them, although they didn't in the AFC Championship last year. I still think Kansas City have the opportunity to beat whoever gets the number 1 seed. I think in the AFC is going to end up winning, at least going to the Super Bowl. And I think it's Cincinnati's time in order to do that this year.
So you covered the Canes. You went on to cover FSU. If anyone follows you on Twitter, you're still big with college football. You still are watching these teams. You're still keeping an eye on these teams. I did want to turn there for a second after. Yes, we start the NFL this week, but we just had week 1 after week 0 of the college football. Very crazy weekend full of Colorado upsetting TCU, Florida State throttling LSU in the second half, and then Duke upsetting Clemson last night. Again, you were watching Clemson in that as well. What was your biggest takeaway of the college football weekend after those 3 things and more happened?
Like, Clemson is no longer a power in the ACC. Obviously, FSU is, I think, the clear favorite to win the conference right now. You also got to put North Carolina there. Well, I don't want to take anything away from what Duke was able to do. I mean, they defensively, they're like an old school team. They pretty much just back Clemson in the mouth. Like, we're running the ball and then also, playing really good defensively. But yeah, I definitely think that was a big takeaway. You talked about Dion and what Colorado was able to do there. They only won 1 game last year. And for them to go into hostile territory and then beat, the national runner-up, I think that's huge for that team, especially considering the amount of turnover that they had. So I think they're a team to keep an eye on too as well. And talk about the Pac-12 as well. Everybody talks about the demise of the Pac-12, and yeah, it's going to come to an end. But all the teams won. Every single Pac-12 team won in week 1, and I think that's going to show their depth. They're going to have a lot of depth in that conference too. I think Washington has a chance to get to the playoffs there. We saw Oregon put 81 points on the board, although against a FCS team, but. I definitely think the Pac-12 is going to be a tremendous conference this upcoming year, and they want to keep an eye on.
What's your call on the Texas A&M game coming up?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how Miami's going to play this year. I mean, obviously, Cristobal, I think, is going to do a really good job there recruiting. And, A&M is a team. You got two teams that are trying to, get back to prominence and, bounce back from tough years. Bobby Petrino comes to A&M and being Debo's offensive coordinator there. It's going to be a really, really interesting game. I'm going to pick Miami because I think they're going to have a much better year. I think Cristobal's going to do really well there. It's just Kenny Canes give him time in order for that to happen. But yeah, I think Miami's going to end up pulling that one out. I don't know who's the favorite in that one, but yeah, I think I like the Canes in that game.
All right, sounds good. Antwan, best of luck. We'll talk to you throughout the season as we track America's team now, the New York Jets, who are going to erase the memories of Buddy Ryan and the 85 Bears defense, and at the same time light it up on offense as we put one more mark on the belt of Aaron Rodgers on his first ballot Hall of Fame stature. Thanks so much for being with us. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Always good to talk to y'all. Y'all take it easy.
All right. Thanks a lot. Antwan Staley, ladies and gentlemen. Nice. I mean, nice beat there. New York Daily News. I will say this. I mean, and obviously we love Antwan Staley, but I do believe that the New York Post sports section is superior to the New York Daily News. All right, Lubie, I won't hold back.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I don't think it's close anymore. I really don't.
The Post always had a strong sports section, but if you looked at the Daily News back in the day, they may have competed. I mean, they both had like legends.
I always preferred the Post to the Daily News. I would have to say.
Well, look, the Post probably always had a ridiculous section, but New York Daily News at one point had some really strong writers.
No doubt. Yeah. Now they still do. They have strong people there. Just the way they put their and I picked up a couple of Daily News sports sections, especially on my Atlantic City trip, right? Where that's what's available in the airport. New York Daily News, or I guess it's in the gift shop there at the Harrah's Hotel. They don't always have the Post; it sells out sometimes. So I've looked at it, and I'm surprised that it hasn't quite gone the way of the Sun Sentinel, where they have like 2 pages that may have some articles on them, and then the rest is like agate type stuff, standings and things like that, stats. But far more of that than they do in the Post. Post is going crazy now. I mean, they're still doing double trucks here, 2-page spreads on the Yankees and the Mets as they come down the pike of a totally meaningless and disastrous season for both teams. Still covering them as if you don't see this kind of interest in the Marlins. I'm sure they're relegated to like page 4, if there is one, of the local newspaper. So, and they're right there in the pennant race. Anyway, that'll do it for us. We had a lot of fun being with you. Thanks, everybody. I guess we will see you again on this program on Friday, right, Louie? Is that it?
Well, that's the hope. I mean, I'll see the professor later, and he is definitely a guy that can handle this side of things, so I don't see why he was an issue.
So take a couple of days off while we realize that Lubie is in control of everything and he's in Morocco. And we will see you guys on Friday. We will be later on today, Grandpa's, right?
Yes.
In
Back
Dania
in the
Beach.
Grandpa's. Yes, sir.
12 o'clock there. Put a potato quiche on order for me.
I always do.
Take that right out of there. Yeah,
I always do.
That'll be great. Don't let Mayo handle it before I get there. All right. We'll see you at 12 o'clock today with the Lunchbox Show. And then Friday with this one. And catch us on No Filter every day. Hopefully that'll go well with our morning briefing, which is a brief version of what we do in the morning. And we'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 8:51.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.